Hey everyone, I'm here today with Lachlan Martin, and we're going to go over his top 8 SS4 Vegeta ramp deck. Um, I think we're all pretty surprised to see it in the top cut, but congratulations, Lachlan, you did very well with it. Um, and
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for having me. And
yeah.
like nobody is more surprised than I am that I did as well as I did.
Alright, let's get right into the deck list and the choices. Alright, so I just went back over the video I made with Lachlan and completely forgot to tell you guys what the lead it is. So I'm going to quickly do that now. So there'll be a quick splice to get to this point. But let's just get right into it, make it really quick. So on the front side of the leader, when it attacks, you draw a card, and when this card deals damage to an opponent by attacking, look at the top card of your deck. If it's mono blue, you may place an energy in rest mode. Otherwise, leave it at the top of the deck. When your life's at 4 or less, you may awaken. That's just a draw one. On the backside, when it's attacks, draw one. That's a once per turn, which is important. When your opponent activates its counter skill, switch to active once again, a once per turn, so you don't get two draws off the activated counter skill, which is a bit of sad, but oh well. And then finally, when you deal damage to your opponent by attacking with this card, look at the top card of your deck. If it's a mono blue card, you may place it in your energy in rest mode. Otherwise, place it on top of your deck. So same effect as the unawakened side. This one just gets to restand if they activate a counter. Anyway, let's get back to the rest of the deck list and analysis from Lachlan. So first of all, we've got our Unison package. So you've got 4 Son Goku Power of the Great Ape, 2 of the Majin Buu Assault of the Agents of Destruction, and then 3 God Sealing Trunks. Um, Walk me through your Unisons and how you chose each of them.
Well, the ape is pretty much just almost a necessity
Yeah,
for this deck. Being
yeah,
able to consistently get those 20k swings into their leader, you want to make these either stick as much as they can, or
yep,
make them panic. And they either do two things, right? They say, "Oh, I can't combo out of this. I'm going to have to let you take this hit and continue to ramp," or they panic and say, "I need to combo out of this hit. I can't let you ramp," and they end up overextending.
yeah,
And this is very good at doing that. And then if you go into the late game as you get that energy, you do primarily play for the +1, but I have had games where I have been able to utilize the -4 and then the tap 4 to establish that draw.
yep.
Or they will focus their attacks onto the unison to prevent me from doing that, and it just turns into a blocker at that point.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, it's a really very good unison for the deck. The one we've got on screen is the unerrated version because Bandai did a dumb and misprinted their own card before it was released. But yeah, this Son Goku is pretty much a necessity for the deck. For those of you who don't know, the SS4 Vegeta essentially says when it attacks, if this card deals damage to a leader, you get to put the you look at the top card of your deck. If it's mono blue, you put it in your energy and rest mode. And then on the awaken side, it gets to restand if they negate. So it's pretty nasty. How'd you come across the Margin Boo, or why do you have the Margin Boo here? Is it just an amazing blue unison?
It is an amazing unison. In one of my first builds, I was running with the SS4 Goku for the
Yeah,
board wipe and the control that manages, but I found it to be like either a little too steep or the Goku on board was doing just as fine of a job as is.
yeah,
But then this Buu came out and I switched over to this, and this thing is an absolute powerhouse. It just brings blue onto another level. Like 20k double strike blocker that draws, restands, and does removal in a
yeah,
deck that has the energy to utilize it. It's just insane.
yeah. That's fair enough. It also does untap as well, so it does essentially everything you want in a unison. Um,
Exactly.
Now you only had 3 God Sealing. Why? Where's the fourth? Why aren't we running the fourth? Any particular reason?
I found I needed to make room for some of the cards in this list, and I found I didn't really feel the need for fourth God Sealing when I needed to see it. I saw it because this deck draws a surprising amount of cards, and I feel like that was a fine enough number. If you wanted to run this list for yourself, you'd be perfectly justified running it at a 4. But I find that with this unison, they really either like leave it on its own, which case you're free to God Sealing as you want, or
Yeah,
they try to deal with your unison to stop you from generating advantage. at which point you don't have a unison to be even able to play God Sealing.
Yeah, okay.
So you have. So sometimes it wasn't great. What is nice is even if you don't have a unison on board to deal with the God Sealing, you can go ahead and charge it relatively free because you see we do run a 2-2 split on the super combo,
Yes,
and we
yes.
do run the Zeno. A, for that reason, and to recur anything we accidentally charge off the leader. Like, I did have a game where I charged my secret rare off the leader, but I was able to get it back with Zeno.
Yeah.
Like, anything that wasn't good in my hand at the time, but I could use later, I was able to recur it with Zeno, and then use it to win the game.
Yeah, makes sense, makes sense. Moving on to, I think it's the extra cards we got next. So we had 2 Sensu Bean, 4 Ultra Instinct Goku Kamehameha, and 3 Intersecting Fates. I feel like these are pretty standard, but only 2 Bean. So reason behind it was just you had enough energy that you didn't need to untap. Um, walk me through these choices as well.
Pretty much. I found with the amount of energy that we're generating, the energy manipulation from Bean wasn't as relevant. In earlier Beans, I did have more, but I cut it down to 2 for now, just for lack of better space. I think moving forward, someone did suggest to me an idea, and I think I am going to move with that moving forward. The I don't know why I didn't think of it before. The Monarcha Encouraging Strike
Oh,
to
the
give your
double
leader.
striker, draw a card, double strike.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Because that in conjunction with the ape, like to bean your leader like plus 10k, turning your leader into 25k dual attack double strike, that it makes them have to think. Because it can turn your lead into a finisher.
that is
And
true because if they
they're like,
negate at
if
any point, it's a
exactly, if
reset.
they
Yeah,
exactly, so they have to be wary of whatever counters they play on your turn because they
that's
have to deal with that.
yeah,
So
that's
I
pretty
can see
nasty.
Sender being coming out and putting in Monarch. Plus the
Monarca.
extra draw from Monarch is quite nice too, because it draws you a card.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I think everyone can agree that 4 Ultra Instinct Goku Kamehameha is nearly a necessity to push those early attacks through. Um,
Your first turn mulligan, you are hard mulliganing for an Ultra Instinct Kamehameha and a Great Ape Unison.
yeah,
Because you need something to start sticking in those hits. If you don't see them, you just full mulligan away until you see them.
yeah,
I was lucky and I was able to like see them usually off the mulligan or get them off the draw for that turn.
yes, that's pretty nice. Did you later in the game were you using it on both turns or mainly your turn? Like, is the untapping one from it on opponent's turn better than the drawing one on your turn for late game, or how did it go after that first couple of pushing attacks through to gain the extra charge?
Yeah, during the early game, this is definitely more used to stick in that
Yeah,
damage to get you that charge. But later game, this becomes such a good defensive tool. Like when they would try to combo up to like say 25 or 29k on like the King Vegeta from Mecha Gabur, like they drop a super combo on that,
yeah,
say 29 double strike at lead, and to have a free 15k combo, so I'm only losing one card of hand out of hand, I'm out of that attack. It's
yeah.
just fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's pretty pretty nice, isn't it? And then
Yeah,
we've got the
and
3 intersecting fates.
Intersecting Fate is mwah, that chef's kiss.
Yeah,
I know some people I've chat with are on the fence about that in blue decks because it can be inherently clunky sometimes. Because like late game you don't need it quite as much and it's an extra card so you're not getting that combo power out of it. I found the cycling and like the card you generate off of that like so many times I was able to hit I was able to hit something really good off the intersecting fates. And you have to win the game, cycle through the deck because like you draw one, bottom deck one,
yeah.
and then you
Seeing
just
cards
go
is
and create.
just so important in this game.
Exactly. And also a few times I was saved by the fact that the uh one risk factor in this deck is if you swing with lead, you deal the damage, and then the card you top deck isn't a mono blue. Because
Yep.
if you happen to hit that freezer, you have to put that back on top of deck, and you've
Right.
lost
Yep.
your charge for the turn.
Yeah.
A couple times I was able to see a freezer off the intersecting fate,
Yep.
so I know that that would have been I would have accidentally hit that off the leader, but because I was able to dig for it and either add it to hand or bottom deck it,
Yeah.
I was able to get that ramp off the leader. So it saved me a couple times there.
Yeah. That
And then D
that's
magic goes without saying.
yeah. You know that's fair enough. It's very very good. Consistency is really important in this game, especially as it gets like more of an aggressive meta. Just seeing the cards you
Absolutely.
need early is really important. And then we've got your negate package. So we've got 3 heroic prospect, 3 babies minion, and 4 dimension magic. Anything special about these, or they just your choices? Did you ever feel like you had too many or too little negates? What was it?
D-Magic kind of goes without saying.
Yeah, yeah,
Just a really good negate.
100%.
Heroic Prospect is quite good. It's like it's good against like certain matchups, bad against other matchups. I didn't
Yep,
really run into a matchup where I regretted seeing it.
yep,
And like the one argument I see against Heroic Prospects is once you get to the mid to late game and their energy starts to catch up,
yeah,
it somewhat falls off and it's not stopping all of those attacks. But this deck inherently kind of covers that weakness because Heroic Prospect is getting you to that mid to late game,
yep.
and where Heroic Prospect starts to fall off, your leader picked up that slack. Because
Okay,
once you get into the mid and end game, you just explode with value cards, and he gets you there.
no, that's fair enough. I guess at the end of the day, heroic prospect is also when you have a unison on the board, a 1 energy negate that becomes a 5k combo piece on the board, so you don't really lose a card in a
Exactly.
combo
Plus
piece.
the extra 15k swing
Yeah.
can be relevant.
And then the
Um,
baby's minion.
Baby's Minion, I actually don't know if I ever got round to playing it on the day. I still like it in the deck because it can be relevant,
Yep.
but I found I didn't always have the energy to play it. I still say it's relevant because there are certain matchups where you are going to need that, and like if they're managing your board state, then I mean your unison, then Heroic Portrait isn't going to be good. If they're swinging with weenies, Heroic Portrait isn't going to be any good. Just having Baby Minion there as an option, plus the 25k swing, is relevant.
That's fair
I
enough.
think I may have played it once against what Android 18 mil, perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
not even then.
Yeah. What's your opinion on baby's minion versus the Vegeta ready to rumble? So Vegeta ready to rumble costs 1 more, but every time they swing, they gotta get rid of an energy.
I considered that, but it's so very rarely that I'm actually going to have the 4 open energy on their turn. You can absolutely make a case for it in this deck, but I found uh, Baby Minion is a little bit more flexible. Like you can play it a little bit earlier, you don't have to invest as much. I still like it.
That's fair. And as we're about to see a little bit later on, we do have a lot of big blue battle cards that you play on your turn. So you don't always have all the energy open for defense.
Exactly.
Alright, speaking of them, we've got the Rebirth of Justice package. So we've got the 3 Rebirth of Justice, the 3 full power freezer 100% overdrive, the Martian Brave Bruiser, and a Booney after image slash. So 3 Rebirth, 3 freezers, 2 Martian, and 2 Boonies. What was your reasoning, I guess, behind playing Rebirth of Justice and especially the freezer, considering that your deck can kind of be annoyed if it sees a non-mono blue card?
Rebirth of Justice was it was actually a friend of mine who gave me the idea to run the Rebirth package. I was already running Murichim and Obuni just because they're good value blue cards.
Yep.
But I will give a shout out to a mate of mine, Blake Mild, for reminding me that Rebirth of Justice and Freezer exist. Because blue has an inherent problem of not having a whole lot of removal for your opponent's board state.
Yep.
And Freezer is just an inherent answer for that, especially in a deck such as SS4 Vegeta, where you can make this drop on board as early as turn 3. And I think I actually did pull that off against Martian Vegeta.
That's pretty nasty. Yeah, the freeze is definitely a very good card. It can help win like King Piccolo matchups. It can help. It can surprise mill anyone who's not really paying attention. Um, it's definitely a card you have to watch out for in blue decks now. Always can get you.
100%. And as we'll get in my matchup that we'll talk about later, I did get close to, or actually did end up, milling some people out or
Nice.
controlling their board game to the point that they could not come back from it.
Yeah, it's nice. So only 2 booty and 2 Marichin, while 3 freezes. What was your reasoning for those numbers of the battle cards?
Freezer the one I wanted to see most of,
Yep.
and then Mujim and Obuni is the good split because they're both situationally good depending on the matchup.
Yeah.
The most perfect example I can think of that was my Soul Striker match, where I had all 3 Rebirth options and Rebirth in my hand, and he had to play around all of them.
Yeah.
So I hit the rebirth. He had to think, am I going to counterplay this, or uh, depending on what he has.
Yeah, so it's if he does choose to counterplay it, you can just go, cool, we'll
Exactly,
put
I
down the
would go
Booney.
through.
If he doesn't, cool, we'll put down Freezer or Moja. Uh,
Exactly, and at this point he was like, I can't call the bluff, or maybe he didn't have it, so he wasn't able to declare God Sealing, at which point I was able to play Frida and control his board.
yeah,
If he did have the God Sealing, I still would have had a Booney to help manage his board with all the swings it would generate, plus the energy manipulation from there.
it's quite
Uh,
nice. That is true.
and then Murichim was quite nice in certain matchups, like against Green if they happened to run Charismatic, which they didn't end up dropping a Unison, or against the black matchups, which against the black decks I versed, unlike the Dark Volley profile in your Top Cut Breakdown, they weren't running much in the way of barrier removal. So
Yeah,
having Murichim for that big double strike dual attack pressure was really good, and they couldn't do anything about it.
100%. Yeah, that Gogeta in Dark Broly, it's killing my King Piccolo, man. I don't like it. Uh,
Sure.
Moving on, we've got your other guess big battle cards that you play. So you got 3 of the SS4 Vegeta, Rise of the Super Warrior, 3 Baby Golden Avenger, and 3 of the Great Saiyan Man, Punisher of Evil. Um, Go for it. Walk me through.
The counter ape is just an absolutely fantastic card.
Yep.
It's like it helps you stick in that extra lethal swing. It itself can be a lethal swing. I did have probably the best play I made with it on that day was against my first Meki Kabura matchup. For those of you who were competing on the day, there was a 10-minute time extension while we were waiting for a judge call because we didn't have any judges available for this. And the ruling was, and how we had it ruled, the 8-drop Meki Kabura, the Dark King, how
Yep.
you would tap for that drops. The Meki Kabura then wipes the board. Then
Yep.
the checkpoint happens where they choose 2 cards in your warp, and then they play them on their field with their skills negated.
Yes.
So how it happened is the board wipe would happen first,
Yep.
and then the check for a counter window would happen after the board wipe, at which point I was able to hit them with the Golden Great Ape counterplay. So they ended up choosing nothing, otherwise those 2 cards would have just been added to my hand instead. At which point my auto activated to bottom deck the Meki Kabura they just played.
That's just nasty, man. Yeah.
It was absolutely nasty, and they just lost the next turn.
Yep. Yeah, that's nasty. That's a tap 4 play to board wipe and do nothing. That yeah.
Exactly.
Most decks we see nowadays are only running about 1 or 2 Baby Golden Avengers. Why why did you have 3? Was it just because you had enough energy to play it all the time, or um,
Because in testing, I found that it was one duel in testing that really cinched it for me. I did have 2. I ended up playing 2 of them in a single game, but I needed a third. So what
fair
I
enough.
ended up doing was I did the -4 on the Great Ape Unison
Yep.
to shuffle
Shuffle
one of
2
them
back
back
in.
into shuffle one back into the deck and draw 2.
Oh,
Then
that's
tap
amazing.
4 energy to draw 2 more, and then play more cards to keep drawing until I drew into the last Golden Great Ape to stick in a lethal swing with the counter because I still had enough energy left.
That's fair enough. And then we've got the SS4 Rise of the Super Warrior, the Vegeta. Were you mainly using this card to draw you 4 cards, or to charge, or mix, or what was
Yep.
your?
It would usually a mix. The extra energy would be so nice because just having that extra resources to play with cards just lets this card is half the reason you explode in the late game.
Yeah.
I've had some games in practice where I had a 1 to 2 card hand, but um but they weren't able to close out the game. And then I was able to drop this, and then with the extra energy or card draw I generated from that, I was able to go from that to like 10, 12 card hand,
Jeez,
fill
that's
up the
really
board, and
nasty.
then just go for game. Exactly.
It's really
And then the
nasty.
unsung hero of the deck definitely took a lot of people by surprise with Great Saiyan Man. He is the absolute MVP of the day.
That's fair. So I'm assuming a play that you were able to do a couple times was you drop it, you pass turn, they swung at something, you blocked with this, and then you were able to like UI Ultra Instinct to keep the same man alive so it can block again and untap an energy.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
would either do that UI or do the Senzu Beam, which I currently have in here, or like drop a Zeno super combo and recur a piece of my energy that I needed, and then do that to restand. He
yeah,
was super relevant against certain matchups. Like definitely the one where he would most MVP would probably both Meki Kabura matchups
yeah.
because they do not run much to deal with
Barrier.
barrier removal. Like aside from
Yeah,
like the Sin secret rare, if they happen to run that. But I think both the ones, like one of them, I didn't even see that one, and the other one may have been running the Kai secret rare. But like the Kai secret rare, the 8-drop Mecha Gabura, like when they wiped my board, they weren't able to touch these.
yeah.
And like
Still
when they
stays.
dropped their yeah, when they dropped their 8-drop, I had what, two Great Saiyaman, a Murichim, and a Hatchiak on board. The only thing they were able to remove was the Hatchiak, and then I established the Golden Great Ape straight away.
Yeah,
It's like they didn't do anything.
definitely,
Absolutely disgusting.
definitely
And
a
like,
nasty card if they don't have barrier removal. So essentially,
egg,
very nasty
exactly.
against everything except Broly, Dark Broly, because apparently
Yeah,
that needed barrier removal.
exactly. They have barrier removal now, which is quite nasty.
Yeah,
It's also a very good answer against one of their strongest answers, the King Vegeta 6-drop, because they have to swing with that in order to get it in rest to generate the advantage it gives. But then you just block with this, and then you kill it through barrier.
that's
This
fair
is
enough.
one of your forms of barrier removal here.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Never thought of that one.
Hmm. Yeah,
Very,
with having Saiyaman, the Golden Great Ape, and Frieza here all at barrier removal was so relevant.
yeah, no, that's actually, yeah, having a lot of barrier removal is pretty important right now because you've got like drums and King Piccolo, you've got, um,
Exactly. Like we have regular removal in the Majin Buu unison as well,
yeah,
and
yeah,
but yeah, the rest is pretty
able
much
to
barrier removal,
control
and then
the,
some of it also having barrier themselves. Having board control is so unusual for a blue deck, and being able to spring that on them won me a lot of games.
yeah, that's fair enough, yeah, because most blue decks are able to just stop you from doing things, but having board control is something we're not really used to. And then finally, we've got our super combos and our secret rare. Um, why a 2-2 split?
The 2-2 split, A, because the bottom deck one draw 2 was so good. It's like my hand was a little bit clunky, like I had more freezers than I needed, or an extra rebirth, or an intersecting phase I wasn't going to use that turn. Being able to shuffle that down and draw into more important pieces was good.
Yep,
And then Zeno is an absolute necessity for the deck because of you being able to accidentally charge win cons off the leader, or if you need to charge something now that you don't need now but you'll need later, you don't feel bad about that because you just combo Zeno and get it back later in the duel. It's so relevant.
100%, completely agree. And then Baby Hatch is the only blue secret rare you should ever run.
Oh, 100%. I have seen some lit toy with the idea of the Goku Oob secret rare because this deck has the energy to utilize that.
Yep,
But Hatchiak is just the nail in the coffin.
yeah,
Like
Babe.
I had two matchups where I saw this pre-mulligan, and you
Ooh,
always keep that
yeah,
because you slam that down at the right moment, and they literally cannot do a single thing about
yeah. Baby Hatch is probably one of the top three secret rares in the game at the moment. It's just such a
it.
good card.
110%.
Just such a good
110%.
card. And then finally, let's go. Now we've gone over the list. Let's go over your matchups. So round one, you had King Vegeta.
Yes, I did have King Vegeta. That was somewhat, I want to say somewhat lucky, because he wasn't able to. This was somewhat of a more low to the ground and aggro variant
Yep,
of King Vegeta while still staying mono red. Like he would fill the board with like his the 3-drop promos that
yep,
you get from this set. Things like Mercenary Tau, where if you have so many cards on board, you're able to play that for free,
yep.
15k crit swing.
Just a lot
So
of
to
low
kind of
to the ground, free play red
egg
stuff.
exactly. However, in exchange for that, luckily for me, he did not see a 5-drop Vegeta in time on turn 3. He
Yep,
opted instead for the Jiren Unison,
yep,
which can be a little bit tricky to deal with if you don't have the board for it. However, it just so happened that on that turn, because he let too many of my swings go through, that I was able to answer with the Rebirth Freezer combo, clear his board, and I
That's
He had.
nasty.
I know. I milled him out of a lot. I think I milled him out like nearly 20 cards on
Ooh,
that
that's
swing.
really nasty.
Maybe like anywhere from like 16 to 20, and he had three of his Vegeta promos on board, and
Yep.
then I milled another two of the regular 3-drop Vegeta. So
Ooh.
like he's losing all of his evolved targets for each 5-drop.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we milled some of that. We milled some super combos. The next swing we ended up milling the rest of them, and he never saw a 5-drop.
That's yep. That's nasty. Frieza's a nasty card. Round two was Mecha Kabura.
Yes, that
Was
was Mecha Gabua. That was the matchup where the ruling came up with the Golden Grade 8 versus the 8-drop Mecha Gabua, the Dark King.
yep. And
Uh,
just
and
besides that, anything special in the Mecha Kabura matchup, or is it just kind of they just don't do enough because it's kind of a control versus control matchup, and blue normally wins the control versus control matchups.
that was one of the duels where that is 100% correct. Like Meki tries to go a little bit into the later turns, like turn 4, turn 5, maybe turn 6 before they hit you with their lethal swing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is they also rely on you um, uh, dropping battle cards into your drop or your warp in order to generate advantage. But this deck absolutely does not need to do that. Against Meki, I was just able to control the pace of the game and make sure that they could not generate advantage of me, and I kept generating advantage.
That's
And
fair
that
enough.
was the duel where I was able to establish multiple Great Saiyaman in order to control their board, like their King Vegeta was never able to stick. Um, their Shrooms and their Salsas were never able to stick.
Yeah.
And then when they eventually did try to go for the Mecha Kabua play to go for game, I just said no.
Yeah. 100%. Round three, you had a loss to Android 18 mil. Um,
Yes, that was my only loss for today, and he ended up going third place in the whole event. So absolutely
so
congrats
you
to him.
played against Victor.
I did play against
Yeah.
Victor.
Nice, nice. So yeah, what's that matchup like? In theory,
That
it doesn't
matchup,
seem too bad.
it actually wasn't that bad. I actually had that game in the bag, and I absolutely threw it away because at the critical moment, I did not take the field spell into account. So what had
Oh
happened was
no.
I know I had controlled his board really well. Like I dealt with it unison. He was not able to establish anything. And in my mind, I'm like, he's at 4 energy. I swing with leader. If he negates, I'll just counter with the 8. Make that stick swing and then swing with 8 for game.
Yeah,
Not remembering that the 8 wasn't able to swing because of the field.
yeah, and then so did he ever establish a freezer, or can you just not establish that freezer against blue?
He was able to establish the freezer the following turn because he was able to bring my unison down to 1 marker. I didn't have enough negates to stop him from doing that, and then he was able to not quite mill me out from there, but I wasn't able to close the game out on the following turn.
Fair enough.
What I should have done was try and swing in with what I could to deal with that, and then knowing that freezer was coming and that he probably was able to deal with my unison. Because on that turn, I had 6 energy to his 3 because
Yeah,
he let every swing go through. So he's going on to his turn with 4 energy. He'd do the free play blocker because they're able to do that to eat up the field, and then tap 4 for rebirth.
yeah.
I
In
think
which
at
case you
that
would have been
point,
able to baby ape.
exactly. And I
Yeah,
think at that point, the play there is not to do it counter window 1, because then they have the opportunity to go a boony or something like that. So you make them think that he gets away with hitting freeze on board or whatever hits the board. And then you drop a counter window 2, so the counterplay effect whiffs, but then the auto goes off to bottom deck his freezer and he doesn't get that back.
interesting one. Interesting. I probably would still stick with the counter window one play, just because either way you'll still get the counter window. You'll still get the on play order. Plus it means you can't get God Sealing.
I like it because it makes it so whatever he's playing off of Rebirth of Justice, he's not getting back. Instead of going back to hand, it's going to bottom deck.
Fair enough. And then round.
And I know I wasn't gonna have to deal with God Sealing because he had no unison. I'd made sure he didn't have
Yeah,
unison. So
fair enough then. Round four, you had a win against another Mecha Kabura. Was it similar to the first one? Was it?
that one they basically weren't really able to establish for a lot of turns
Yeah,
because they were trying to rely on me putting battle card or warping battle card from my drop where I warp to generate stuff, and I just didn't let them do that. And then in the late game, I just exploded and just killed them dead. Like, that was a much easier Meki Kabua match.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, makes sense. Round 5 was Soul Striker. So big blue
That
versus
was
blue matchup.
Yeah, that was definitely the closest match of the day. Very down to the wire. Like Golden Great Apes on both sides. He also was running the Rebirth Freezer. Um, Rebirth Freezer against myself didn't feel quite as bad because I wasn't going super wide and he wasn't able to mill as much.
Fair
And
enough.
then I was able to kill that back. It's like I was able to either uh, kill it with my own rebirth or um, bottom deck it with the Margin Boo Unison. That came in really clutch on that turn. But
Makes
like
sense.
I would leave his Golden Great Ape on the board because like he would try to counterplay or counter to stop something, which wouldn't have done much. But it didn't work in his favor because it had unique, and he wouldn't be able to play it on the board to swing for game and get that extra swing, which I had planned for.
Yep, makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, so his last turn, um, I would able, I didn't want to go down to 2 life in case he had a charm or a free double strike he was going to try and go to for game. So he swung with everything, swung with like the one battle card he had on board, swung with lead, and then the last thing he went for was Boost Routed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 10 drop.
Yeah.
But at that point, he dropped Boost Routed, was able to swing, make me go down to 1 life, but then he had nothing. And like with the board I had, I didn't need to activate effects in order to win. I was just able to win.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Fu Shrouded is definitely a nasty card. It's a bit hard to establish against blue because they have so many counterplays that can hit it.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Like I think I may have burned up a counterplay already on that turn, or like nothing else to counterplay.
Yeah,
But I think it might have been like a mild miss sequence on his part because like we were both at like 8 or 9 energy on that point. I think he said after the fact that he could have played the 4-drop Janemba to get an extra critical swing in,
yeah,
and then swing with leader to untap
Untap.
2 and then go Fu Shrouded. But I think I still had enough to combo out of the
Lead
Janemba
swing.
and the lead swing in order to still get out of the extra 1 life.
Yeah.
And still come through.
Fair enough. And then last round was a win against Margin Vegeta, the king of aggro.
That was not even close. Like my opening hand with Baby Hatch, UI Kamehameha, and the Ape.
Yeah.
And the thing with Margin Vegeta is you don't even need to do the UI Kamehameha offensively because they need to take the life to start their combo. So I was able to swing, he just took it, and I was able to save that for defensive plays later on in the game.
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
like he did go through the full combo of went down to 4 life, he had the field, went into the 3-drop, into the 4-drop to get the Deadly Defender Slug, and just established the board from there. Like the little 1-drops, the 1-drop Silver Bullet for blue,
Ooh.
the
Yep.
1-drop Double Striker. Side note on the Silver Bullet, actually didn't really hit me that much. Because the only card it hits is D-Magic.
Yeah.
Because like that's all of it I'm really untapping with. But look, I'm untapping with my Boo Unison.
You're
I'm
untapping with
untapping
Seno, with Sensu Bean.
Senju Bean, which maybe not so much moving forward, but Zeno Super Combo is kind of my pseudo untap.
Yeah.
Because like I can take the same, if I wanted to take the same card of my energy and charge it back in active mode.
Yeah.
I get untap off Intersecting Fate, I get it off Great Saiyaman, I get it off UI Kamehameha. It did nothing to stop all that untap. All it did would make me not untap for Dimension Magic.
Yeah. Pretty.
I didn't really care. It was just another mill target for Frito at that point.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like I was able to drop this down on turn 3 with
Yep.
5 energy, I believe. So I was able to
Nasty.
have another energy left. I have my Unison on board. He goes to 4 energy. He tried to hard cast the 4-drop. I got stealing that back to hand. He swings with lead, trying to take me down to 2 life and Baby Hatch.
Yeah. And from that
Like,
point, it's
that was
game
an
over.
absolute stomp. Yeah, at that point, he just scooped.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, congratulations, Lachlan. Thanks for coming on and doing this with me. Very interesting deck. It's nice to actually see it do well. It's a very unique deck, and it's good to see Ramp back because we haven't seen any energy ramp in a while.
Thank you very much for having me. Like, I still maintain that this is a good leader, and it just needed that little bit extra push. I'd
Yep.
say that a list like this, plus the introduction of Margin Buu, it's just that little push it needed. I still want to tweak it a little bit for moving forward, like putting in the two Manaka, maybe experimenting with different ratios, and then moving into a best of three format. Side deck options for people who try to tech against me or against certain matchups that try to deal with me. So I
Yep.
need to think about that moving forward. But all in all, very happy with how this deck performed, and aside from my very obvious misplay against Android 18,
It's alright. It all
I'm
happens.
very, exactly like what can you do? You smell the blood in the air. You tried to go for game. You get a little bit impatient. I need to learn a little bit better. But other than that, very happy with how the deck performed, and I'm very happy with how I played.
Yep. Well done. Congratulations. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. If you've got any questions for me or Lachlan, leave them down below, and we'll try to get to them as soon as we can. But have a good one. See ya.
See you all around.